Time goes back to 1981 this year. The famous President Reagan was officially inaugurated as the President of the United States this year, the world's first personal computer officially appeared, and the Internet technology era officially kicked off this year. A decade-round stock market crash has once again hit Hong Kong, the future Asian financial center, and an international metropolis on par with New York and London this year. As the Cold War continued, the competition between the world's two superpowers, the polar bear and the bald eagle, remained undecided, and peace remained elusive. This is the best and worst era. It was also this year that he came keywords of the novel. Rebirth of Xiangjiang 1981 without pop-ups, Rebirth of Xiangjiang 1981 TXT Complete Collection Download, Rebirth of Xiangjiang 1981 Latest Chapter Reading. Chapter 1. Soul Piercing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1 Soul Piercing. My head hurts so much. After an unknown amount of time, Yang Chen woke up from his sleep, feeling extremely thirsty. He wanted to pour water to drink, but felt his hands resting on his arms. Smooth and delicate, like a woman's hand. How could there be someone? When Yang Chen opened his eyes and looked over, his head suddenly exploded with a buzzing sound, and he looked at the woman lying beside his bed in shock, unable to speak for a long time. Chen, you woke up. I don't know if it was caused by Yang Chen or the woman herself, but a face that was both unfamiliar and familiar came into view. The woman's long hair was draped over half of her peerless beauty, but the only half of her cheek was also captivating. Seeing Yang Chen staring blankly at her, there was no unnatural expression on the woman's face, nor was there any imagined shyness or anger. Instead, there was a hint of joy in the corners of her eyes. Gulu, Yang Chen's stomach screamed out in frustration, and he couldn't help but blush when faced with the unfamiliar woman in front of him. Seeing Yang Chen's embarrassed expression at this moment, the woman's usual iceberg-like face in front of outsiders melted instantly. Perhaps for the sake of Yang Chen's face, he just blinked his eyes and didn't show it. However, it was not difficult to see a faint smile in her bright eyes. Quickly, information about this woman flooded into Yang Chen's mind. Xue Yufei, Miss Xue of the Xue family, her fiancé A.E. Fiancé, am I reborn? Quietly glancing at the unfamiliar room, countless memories flooded into his mind, causing him to frown uncontrollably. The piercing pain flashed away as if it had never happened before. He has indeed been reborn. In my memory, his name and appearance have not changed much, the only difference is his identity, era, and place. Yang Chen's rebirth was born in the era of Internet explosion in the 21st century. And this body is located in the 20th century, early 1980s. The specific time is in 1981. The time gap between the two has spanned nearly 40 years. Of course, these are not the most important thing is that the place he is currently in is not inland. According to the memories left by his predecessor, he should be in Xiangjiang at this time, which is known as the world's third largest financial center, international finance, trade, shipping center, and international innovation and technology center along with New York and London in later generations. Across his inland home, although it may not be 100 or 8,000 miles, there are at least 2 provinces and countless cities and counties in between. Okay, I've even encountered things like rebirth, so there's nothing to worry about moving around. Goo. After drinking, having a stomachache on an empty stomach is like the law of true fragrance, and no one can avoid it. Yang Chen awkwardly touched his own belly, and the previously overweight little belly disappeared. It was really good. Yang Chen smiled inexplicably, and a hint of doubt flashed in Xue Yufei's eyes. She then shook her head and said, "I'll go get you something to eat." After speaking, without waiting for Yang Chen to respond, he left the room directly. Until Xue Yufei's back disappeared, Yang Chen finally breathed a long sigh of relief. Looking up again at the environment he was in, Yang Chen blinked his eyes and reached out to touch his face. He thought about traveling through different paths, reincarnating his predecessors, and trying various methods of identification that were not satisfactory. Yang Chen didn't hesitate at all and slapped himself hard in the face. Hiss, it hurts so much. After slapping, pinching the thighs, pulling the ears, biting the arms, after completing various tests, Yang Chen finally came to a conclusion. He was indeed reborn. Once you come, be content with it. The memories of his predecessor have been well preserved, which relieved Yang Chen. In this way, he at least doesn't have to pretend to have amnesia and deceive people everywhere. At the same time, it can also prevent him from becoming famous in the future and being suspected and speculated by people with various imaginations about his rebirth and journey. In this era, people may not know, but in future generations, it may not be the case. A warm reminder to all fans of Xiangjiang literature. Undoubtedly, like many novels, this book has one thing in common. The previous text is toxic. I hope everyone can hold on. For those who like Xiangjiang literature, it's worth reading through the public chapters. Anyway, it doesn't cost any money, and the number of starting Xiangjiang literature is limited, so there aren't many unfinished or eunuchs. I hereby declare in advance that I will not be sealed, and the minimum word count is 1.5 million words. Now it's already 800,000 words, that's right, I came from behind. Some book friends have been saying that my golden 3 chapters and the beginning are too bad, and I don't have the money to write public chapters without putting my heart into them. Heaven and earth have a conscience. This is my first time writing Xiangjiang literature, and I'm confused. Who knows how to write it, but I'm not a great god. Before that, I've been fighting in martial arts. I wrote this Xiangjiang article just because I liked the period of Xiangjiang, whether it was entertainment or business, or cough cough. Not to mention this, the river crab god, with his eyes covering the entire starting point, it was better not to provoke it. To write this book, I was crossing the river by feeling the stones. At the beginning, it was written poorly, and even if it was even worse, there was no way to make significant changes. After all, the rest needed to be paved with the previous text. Starting from the river crab god, Xiangjiang is also a heavily affected area, and I am writing with great anxiety. Fortunately, some of the book friends who skipped the poison spot are very awesome, and their subscriptions are stable, so that I can have a meal. Stable updates, stable grades, as long as the book is not sealed, we guarantee that there will be no unfinished work or eunuchs. This is my first time writing in Xiangjiang. There are many rough points, and I hope everyone can forgive me. Thank you. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Unmarried Wife. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Unmarried Wife. The place where Yang Chen currently lives is a cozy 2-bedroom, 1 living room small residence. Due to the good location, the monthly rent is not cheap. Originally, this place was not intended to be rented, but for the sake of Xue Yufei's fiancée A.E., he had to grit his teeth and rent it. In the 1980s, the Xue family in Xiangjiang was also considered a wealthy family, although it could not compare to those top-tier families that could easily exceed billions. However, Xue's father, who is worth billions, can be considered a part of the upper-class society of Xiangjiang. And Xue Yufei, the young lady of the Xue family and also the only daughter of Xue's father, has been living a privileged life with no worries about food and clothing since childhood. It is hard to imagine that she would live in such a place with her former fiancé A. Xue Yufei lives here with Yang Chen, not because Xue's father does not accept him as a poor son. Law, on the contrary, Xue's father is quite speechless about his son. Law's kindness. In the 7th or 3rd year, Xiangjiang experienced an unprecedented stock market crash, and both of Yang Chen's parents unfortunately died. Xue's father brought Yang Chen, who was only 10 years old at the time, to the Xue family. Xue's father has always had high expectations for his old friend's son and has spared no effort in nurturing him since childhood. Even because the Xue family only has one daughter, Xue Yufei, and no son, Xue's father almost raised Yang Chen as his own son. In the 1980s, the manufacturing industry in Xiangjiang was very developed and prosperous, and it was known as the Four Asian Tigers along with the Gulf, South Korea, and Singapore at that time. And Shui's father's billions of dollars mainly come from the self-made clothing industry, and the Shui family mainly operates clothing factories. For Yang Chen's cultivation, Shui's father has always followed up comprehensively, so that if the couple passes away in the future, Yang Chen can take over the Shui family's property and take care of their only daughter. At first, Yang Chen was also very obedient, following the plan set by Shui's father in his studies step by step. With the factor of losing his parents from a young age, his studies were also particularly serious and hard-working. However, it was not yet time for Shui's father to be pleased. The rebellious mentality of the young man happened to Yang Chen, who was only 19 years old. Last year, Yang Chen suddenly became obsessed with music and began to develop a great interest in it. At first, Shui's father didn't take it seriously and thought it was just Yang Chen's hobby, so he didn't intervene too much. As Yang Chen became increasingly obsessed with music, even to the point of preparing to give up his studies, Shui's father finally couldn't sit still. Originally, Shui's father planned to arrange for Yang Chen to marry his daughter after graduating from university, and then naturally enter the company to prepare for taking over his career. Everything was reasonable and orderly, and everything was progressing smoothly. Suddenly, Yang Chen fell off the chain. After 8 years of hard work, everything was destroyed in one fell swoop. At that time, Shui's father almost went straight to the hospital in anger. Despite Shui's father's strong opposition, Yang Chen, although feeling guilty, still insisted on choosing the music he liked. For this reason, they even moved out of the Shui family. At this moment, Shui's father had no other choice. As the saying goes, if a woman grows up, she will not be left behind, and if a child grows up, she will not be left behind. Yang Chen was determined to pursue his own music, and Shui's father could only compromise by default. According to Shui's father's idea, young people only know what is right and wrong when they encounter difficulties, hit their heads and bleed blood, and then know to turn back. Shui Yufei, the young lady of the Shui family, had no objection to Yang Chen's ideas. As soon as she saw Yang Chen move out of the Shui family, she followed suit without saying a word. According to Shui Yufei, she holds the identity of Yang Chen's fiancé Ae and has long been well known among the major families in Xiangjiang. She cannot be removed even if she wants to. Moreover, she had never considered taking off this identity. She liked to follow Yang Chen and was used to following him. Her idea was simple. If Yang Chen went there, she would follow him. There was no other way, for this fiancé Ae who was a few days older than himself but silently followed him like a younger sister from a young age, never interfering with anything he did, Yang Chen could only accept Shui Yufei's choice. At that time, when Yang Chen dropped out of school, Shui Yufei also applied to drop out without hesitation. Not to mention his predecessor, even at this time, Yang Chen couldn't bear to refuse this fiancé Ae, let alone her face that was enough to harm the country and the people. After getting out of bed, Yang Chen walked towards the bathroom according to his memory. Looking at the narrow bathroom in front of him, he couldn't help but think of the spacious bathroom of the Shui family in his mind. Compared to it, the two are vastly different. 2 towels and 2 toothbrushes. Yang Chen picked up the men's toothbrush in front of him, squeezed toothpaste, and brushed his teeth while thinking about his future plans. Yang Chen neither opposes nor supports his predecessor's desire to develop into music. To be honest, his predecessor never had the idea of becoming a big star in his mind. Simply put, my predecessor was being squeezed and annoyed by various arrangements in the past, wanting to escape from my original life and give myself a space to breathe freely. My predecessor got drunk yesterday, not because of the music that made him lose hope and get drunk. Yesterday was the day my parents passed away, and my predecessor drank too much while feeling sad, which led to this kind of thing. Yang Chen shook his head speechlessly as he had no clear and definite plans for the future in his predecessor's mind. You should know that his predecessor was not the same person. He not only had a fiancée A.E. by his side, but also two expectant parents-in-law who treated him like parent-child. In Yang Chen's view, the behavior of his predecessor was simply playing the piano recklessly. Yang Chen, who has been eroded by time, has long lost the rebelliousness of his youth and the pressure of life. He can feel some from his friends around him. In his past life, Yang Chen grew up in a single-parent family. His parents divorced early on, and his father took care of him by his grandfather's side because he was busy with work. However, Grandpa, who usually looks no different from a normal person, would have to take a detour after drinking. Fight against the sky, fight against the earth, fight against the air, and have a practical skill called fight against children. Afterwards, when I woke up, I often saw Yang Chen covered in injuries. In order to maintain his grandfather's dignity, he called it exercising Yang Chen's ability to resist attacks. Yang Chen has also been accustomed to this since childhood. As the saying goes, under a stick comes a filial son. When encountering such a grandfather, Yang Chen has been like a neighbor's child since childhood, so well behaved and obedient. However, this kind of life continued until Yang Chen went to college, and with the extension of his legs, it completely came to an end. Without anyone to discipline him, Yang Chen gradually began to become lawless. Having been educated by the old man from a young age, Yang Chen was quite good at practicing his skills. As a good student on weekdays, he changed his routine and finally, before he could finish college, he transferred to another school under the cheers of all the teachers and students. Where did you go? A nationally renowned university that gathers the top talents from various industries and is known as a concentration camp that can accommodate all talents. It is a prestigious social university. After several years of struggling in the social university, Yang Chen felt that studying every day was too tiring, so he began the most important stage of his life, staying at home and gnawing on his master. Before his drunken grandfather passed away, he left him several houses with his name written on the property certificate. After the house was handed over to an agency, there was a fixed monthly income. Having no worries about food and drink, Yang Chen only does 3 things at home every day, which is to eat, sleep, and use the toilet. He, who was too idle and flustered, fell in love with novels that made all young people unable to give up, and eventually became a proud bookworm otaku. In his past life, he had been gnawing for a long time. He was lazy and had advanced cancer, and even if he wanted to change, he couldn't change it. Once a person does not work for a long time and does not have to worry about life, it is very difficult to go out again. Now that he has a new identity and a new beginning, except for a change in time and place, everything else has not changed. Naturally, Yang Chen will not continue to be as decadent as in his previous life. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Life. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Life in the 1980s, Xiangjiang was full of opportunities everywhere. Since he came here, Yang Chen naturally wouldn't continue to live the ordinary life of his past life. Every person who crosses the Xiangjiang River must have a dream of Lijiaqing. Lijiasin. Compared to others, Yang Chen has a bigger mind. He didn't think about what to do with Lijiaqing in the past, let alone sleeping with Lijiasin. Since he has arrived, he naturally wants to rush to surpass Lijiaqing, seize opportunities that belong to him, and suppress the other party to the death, so that the other party can only follow him and eat dirt forever. Only in this way can life be considered perfect. As for sleeping with Lijiasin, if it weren't for Shui Yufei, the fiancé A.E. who caused harm to the country and the people, he might have considered it. Now, he can't even bring up this idea. After taking a shower, shaving, and taking care of personal hygiene, Yang Chen looked at the sharp and angular face in the mirror, which was somewhat similar to the male star Wu Yanzu. With a curl of his mouth and a hint of evil intent in his eyes, Yang Chen somewhat understood why Shui Yufei was closely following him and did not leave at all. With this face, combined with the gentle singing voice from his predecessor's memory, if he were a woman, he wouldn't be worried about his fiancée being alone outside. Between men and women, it begins with appearance, falls into talent, is loyal to character, and is intoxicated by deep affection. It can be said that almost all of these four predecessors were occupied, and naturally, Shui Yufei's heart was completely captured by him, and he couldn't escape even if he wanted to. Not long after, Shui Yufei came out of the kitchen carrying 2 bowls of noodles, and from beginning to end, Yang Chen sat honestly on the sofa without any unnecessary movements. According to tradition, Shui Yufei never lets him take action on this kind of thing. In the other person's words, it's both her job and her pleasure. If Yang Chen helps, it's like doing everything for her. Nowadays, Shui Yufei relies on Yang Chen to survive. If she doesn't even have to do this, what's the difference between it and parasites? This is Miss Shui's theory, and Yang Chen had no choice but to watch a wealthy lady slowly transition towards becoming a housewife. Ah, you can start eating now. Shui Yufei handed the chopsticks to Yang Chen's hand, licking her rosy lips with her little tongue, as if her index finger was twitching. Just as Yang Chen took the chopsticks and prepared to eat, Shui Yufei reached out to block Yang Chen's downward trend. What's wrong? Yang Chen looked at her with a bewildered expression, not understanding why he was trying to stop himself. Shui Yufei remained silent, tilted her head, leaned her face closer, and pointed her fingers to half of her cheek, gesturing for Yang Chen to give her a reward for her work. Upon seeing this, Yang Chen suddenly remembered the beauty of the iceberg in front of outsiders, but in front of him, he was like a child, demanding rewards from himself. Yang Chen felt an inexplicable sense of satisfaction in his heart. He honestly leaned in and kissed her smooth cheek, then smiled and said, "Can I eat now?" Shui Yufei squinted her eyes and nodded, not stopping him anymore. Perhaps he was really hungry, but soon after, Yang Chen took 3 or 5 bites and lost almost half of his bowl of noodles. Shui Yufei, who was beside her, calmly divided half of the noodles from her bowl. Yang Chen didn't refuse either. She picked up the bowl and took a sip of clear soup, which made Yang Chen feel a little warmer in her stomach and stronger all over her body. Looking at Yang Chen, who couldn't help but be fascinated even by eating noodles, Shui Yufei remembered the phone call from her father yesterday, frowning slightly and looking a bit conflicted. Seeing Shui Yufei not moving her chopsticks for a long time, Yang Chen looked up at her in confusion. Seeing a worried expression on her eyebrows, Yang Chen couldn't help but ask, "Yufei, what's wrong? Is there anything wrong?" Upon hearing Yang Chen's inquiry, Shui Yufei hesitated for a while before bowing her head and saying, "Dad is calling and wants us to come home in 2 days." When Shui Yufei spoke, her eyes instinctively looked elsewhere and she didn't look into Yang Chen's eyes, obviously not wanting him to be in a difficult situation. After a while, seeing that Yang Chen had been silent for a long time, Shui Yufei couldn't help but look at Yang Chen. However, she saw that he was not as concerned as she had imagined, but rather with a smile on his face. For a moment of confusion, Shui Yufei blinked her eyes and cautiously said, "Chen, if you don't want to go back, I'll just call my parents and let them know." She knew that from the day Yang Chen came out of the Shui family, if he couldn't achieve anything, once he stepped back into the Shui family, it would mean that Yang Chen would give up his unrealistic dreams and move forward again according to the path his father had planned for him. As a woman, she knows very well what a man's so-called face is. From the beginning, Yang Chen was labeled as the son-in-law of the Shui family by the outside world, which certainly made many people envious, but there were also many people who were equally jealous. And those who are jealous of Yang Chen naturally won't say anything good. She has been following Yang Chen all along, very clear about their thoughts, and also understands how much pressure Yang Chen has endured in the middle. If it weren't for those rumors and gossip, Yang Chen wouldn't have been able to bear it and left the Shui family. As for the music that Yang Chen pursued, in Shui Yufei's view, it was at that time a form of escape. Although Yang Chen is indeed very talented in music, he would rather sing on the streets than sign with a record company in order to be free from constraints. From this alone, Shui Yufei knew about her fiancé and had never considered using music to prove herself. Influenced by her own father, Shui Yufei is very clear that Yang Chen is destined not to embark on the path of becoming a celebrity. Even if he does, at most he will only release records and will not do things he does not like according to the requirements of the record company. In this way, Yang Chen, who has no capital and no resources, undoubtedly finds it difficult to prove himself through his own efforts in a short period of time. The reason why Shui Yufei closely followed Yang Chen was because she was afraid that once Yang Chen failed in the end, lost face, and refused to enter the Shui family gate again, she would always be by his side, guarding him, and taking care of his life. It was precisely during this period of life that the two of them were no longer separated from each other and truly understood each other's true thoughts. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Agreements. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Agreements. Looking at Shui Yufei's hopeful gaze, Yang Chen couldn't bear to refuse. However, deep down in his heart, due to the memories of his predecessor, Yang Chen vaguely rejected the title of Shui's son-in-law on his head. It is obvious that the memory of the predecessor is causing trouble again. If it were Yang Chen, he wouldn't care about what others say if he doesn't have a son-in-law. Think about how many otaku and losers in future generations, who not only dream of marrying by Fume, but also strive to reach the pinnacle of their lives. Now that he has this opportunity, the fool will let it go. However, speaking again, if he just went back like this, Yang Chen felt somewhat unwilling in his heart. If he didn't have any inventory in his head, he would be like a parasite, and he wouldn't refuse Shui's arrangements for him. Now that he has the opportunity and ability to carve out his own world, why would he go back and accept other people's arrangements and let them shape his life? What he strives for is his own, and what belongs to others will always be theirs. Even if he takes over the Shui family's industry in the future, in the eyes of outsiders, Yang Chen is still the son-in-law of the Shui family. Even if he succeeds in the future, this title will always accompany him and never be taken away. Thinking about this, Yang Chen couldn't help but look up at Shui Yufei in front of him and said seriously, "Yufei, give me 1 year. If I haven't made a career that my father-in-law recognizes in a year, I'll go back with you and follow his arrangements. Do you think this is okay?" Yang Chen asked. "Are you true? You're not lying to me?" Shui Yufei confirmed with some disbelief. "Really?" Yang Chen nodded heavily. In Yang Chen's view, he has the advantage of being a reborn person. If he hasn't made a comeback in a year, it's really a failure. Although he is preparing to start from scratch now, doesn't he still bear the title of Shui's son-in-law on his head? If it really doesn't work, go to the bank for a loan. With the identities of him and Shui Yufei, not to mention many, as long as the bank is willing to lend him several 100,000 yuan for the sake of Shui's father's face, then his first bucket of gold will come. With his first bucket of gold, in Xiangjiang in 1981, if he can't make a big profit, it's really unreasonable. However, he did not intend to earn his second bucket of gold in Xiangjiang because he knew there was a place outside that could bring him a 50-fold profit. Absolutely guaranteed profit without loss. This is what Yang Chen stumbled upon online in his past life. With 50 times the profit, he could earn his first 5 million yuan even with only a capital of 100,000 yuan. As for why he didn't earn his second bucket of gold in the Xiangjiang stock market, the reason is simple. Firstly, Yang Chen's understanding of the Xiangjiang stock market is limited to major events, and he lacks the ability to make quick money through the Xiangjiang stock market. Secondly, the Xiangjiang stock market in the 1980s was too small. In the early 1980s, the annual trading volume of the Xiangjiang stock market had just exceeded 100 billion Hong Kong dollars. This is far from being compared to the third largest financial center in Asia, where every move can affect the entire financial industry in the future. If Yang Chen had that ability in Xiangjiang now, as long as he showed it a little, it would quickly attract the attention and follow the trend of others. If he had enough capital, he wouldn't be afraid of others following suit, but the problem is that he doesn't have enough capital. Once someone follows suit, things will completely go beyond his control. The smaller the pond, the greater the factor of human interference. Once it catches the attention of others, a slap from those big companies is enough to kill him and cause him to lose everything. Don't talk to me about any confidentiality agreements. That thing is about capital. You only have a few tens or millions of people in your hands. Talking to others about confidentiality is going to be confusing for you, right? Who do you think you are? Even if it's Li Jiaqing, thinking about the other party's failure in dealing with Zhulongkang, it's not difficult to see that there are some things that you don't have the capital to do. If you want someone to keep it a secret for you, you need to have enough capital. This is like those successful entrepreneurs, their words are all soulful chicken soup worth learning from. And those successful individuals with a net worth of millions and millions, in the eyes of most people, are at best nouveau riche and small business owners. Their words, not to mention chicken soup, are not even consumed by anyone. Upon receiving Yang Chen's positive response, Shui Yufei was extremely happy in her heart, but her face did not show any signs. She lowered her head and ate noodles to conceal her inner joy. Regarding Shui Yufei's thoughts, Yang Chen could guess to some extent from his predecessor's memory, but he didn't care. After all, Shui Yufei was also thinking for his own benefit. The two grew up together from a young age and used to live a carefree and prosperous life. It's okay to experience the current life in a short period of time. If it continues for a long time, not only Shui Yufei can't bear it, but even Yang Chen's predecessor himself can't bear it. After finishing the noodles, it was almost dark. According to my predecessor's memory, it was about time for them to go out and prepare to sing. According to his predecessor's singing voice, if he was willing, he would be warmly sought after whenever he went to that bar to sing. However, his predecessor seemed to not like those places very much, preferring to sing on the street with free tips from passers-by and listeners, rather than going to the bar to sing. Xiangjiang in the 1980s is no different from the metropolis in the 21st century. The Oriental Pearl TV tower is full of nightlife everywhere. Thinking about the usual routine of rebirth, Yang Chen had many ways to make money in his mind, but this first bucket of gold really broke his mind. The most difficult thing to earn in life is the first 1 million. Without the original capital, even if you have great abilities, you have to bow down to reality. Although Yang Chen had read many novels in his past life, if he were to copy tens of thousands of words a day like those Reborn, he had only one sentence to say. I truly cannot do it. It's not that copying books is impossible, but that he has no way of reproducing those million-word novels. Moreover, not everyone can become Jin Yong, nor can they just look for a newspaper and deceive you, and they obediently raise the price and beg you to publish. If that were the case, there wouldn't be only one Jin Yong in the entire Xiangjiang. Thousands of miles of horses are common, while bowl is not. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Selling Songs. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 6. 10 Songs. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 7. Opening 2 songs. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 8. Look at the girl across from you. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Look at the girl across from you. After singing 2 songs in a row, Yang Chen listened to the enthusiastic applause from around him, and his vanity was greatly satisfied. He used to feel a bit uneasy singing in front of so many people, but as he sang, the familiar melody immediately brought him in. After singing 2 songs and being so popular, he didn't feel so nervous anymore. Come, take a sip of water before singing. Just as Yang Chen was plucking the strings and preparing to sing the next song, Shui Yufei handed over the early brewed throat-moistening tea. Yang Chen didn't go to pick up the cup, took 2 sips at the mouth of the bottle, then reached out and pulled off Shui Yufei's mask, kissing her lips. After drinking 2 sips of throat-moistening tea, Yang Chen felt much more comfortable in his throat. As Shui Yufei fiddled with the strings, she silently returned to the tricycle. Seeing He Chaoqiong staring straight at her, Shui Yufei felt a little embarrassed and said, "Sister Chaoqiong, what are you doing looking at me like this?" "It's nothing, it's just that your teeth are getting sore soon," He Chaoqiong joked. Seeing Shui Yufei shy and silent, He Chaoqiong continued to ask in a low voice, "I said, your family's great talent has hidden it deep enough. I thought he was bragging just now. With these two songs, if he releases a record, he will definitely become a big hit." However, He Chaoqiong smiled and looked at Shui Yufei in front of her, then stopped. "But what?" Shui Yufei looked at He Chaoqiong, who was intentionally teasing her. "However, once he gets angry, you have to be careful. Look at the eyes of those women around here, they all wish they could swallow any of your great talents." As He Chaoqiong spoke, she gestured for Shui Yufei to pay attention to the women around her with green and shimmering eyes. That blazing gaze made Shui Yufei, as a woman, also feel uneasy. Immediately after, Shui Yufei seemed to have thought of something and suddenly turned her head to look at He Chaoqiong beside her. She was also like those women, staring at Yang Chen on the field without blinking, with a hint of vigilance in her heart. "What are you doing?" Shui Yufei gave her a sudden glance, and He Chaoqiong blinked her eyes, asking with a hint of guilt, but her tone was slightly lacking. "Sister Chaoqiong, Chen is my fiancé, Shui Yufei said to He Chaoqiong seriously, word by word. He Chaoqiong rolled her eyes and couldn't help but say, "I know. I grew up with him from a young age." "I know," He Chaoqiong couldn't help but laugh and cry. "The person he likes is me, and the person he loves is also me." "I know," He Chaoqiong was about to cry. "I love him, I know," He Chaoqiong cried completely, tears streaming down her face. Ignoring He Chaoqiong's tears, Shui Yufei continued to be serious and said with an iron heart, "Sister Chaoqiong, even if you cry, I won't give you Chen." "Ah, I killed you." He Chaoqiong was completely driven crazy, reaching out to pinch Shui Yufei's neck. The two women started fighting inexplicably, and at this moment, Yang Chen, who had finished tuning, also noticed the situation on their side. I didn't understand what was going on between the two women, but they started to move their hands, leaving him speechless for a while, to the point where he couldn't even sing the songs below. However, soon his mind flashed with inspiration and he thought of a song that was particularly suitable for the present. After thinking about Ren Xianqi's, looking at the girl across, Yang Chen started singing to the two girls. "Look at the girl across from you, look over the performance here is excellent, please don't pretend to be indifferent, the sorrow of lonely boys speaking up, who understands, please cast a seductive glance over here comforting me, making me happy." Seeing Yang Chen suddenly change his art style, everyone's minds buzzed and exploded. When Yang Chen was tuning the piano just now, it wasn't this melody. Suddenly, it was so close to reality that many people thought it was him singing it casually. There are many people who have this idea, even He Chaoqiong and Shui Yufei, who stopped playing, have the same idea. Upon hearing Yang Chen singing so mischievously, both women couldn't help but follow the lyrics and cast him a seductive glance. "I look left, right, up, down, turns out every girl is not easy, I've been thinking, and guessing the girls have really strange thoughts." After Yang Chen finished singing the song, "Look at the girl across the street," the male companions around him exploded, one by one, their faces turning red and their necks thick with wolf howls. At this moment, in the nearest cafe to Yang Chen and his companions, two middle-aged people listened to the song and a bright light flashed in their eyes. At the same time, they looked at each other. "Mr. Shen, how's it going?" "I'll just say he's very talented. Not to mention anything else, just these three songs, especially the one just now, can definitely go viral." The speaker, named Wu Fan, is a senior detective of Polygram, specializing in exploring potential singers for Polygram, just like future Korean star detectives. Previously, Wu Fan happened to meet Yang Chen and saw that he was very suitable for being a singer in both appearance and voice, just like signing into Polygram. As the music director of Polygram Hong Kong branch, once Yang Chen catches his eye, then the matter is settled. It's okay not to sign a contract. As long as the company can make money, he can still gain something. Now that he sees the appearance of his own director, Wu Fan knows that he didn't do anything wrong this time. After the girl across from her finished singing, Yang Chen continued to sing Beyond's I Like You, I Really Love You, and Cold Rainy Night, as well as Ren Rant's Listening to Rain at Night in a Small Building Outside the Mountain, and the Inexplicable Team's Old Dreams, Jay Chou's Fireworks Easy to Cold. He sang 9 songs in a row, and apart from The Girl Across the Street Looks Over, which was his inspiration and not included in the 10 songs, Yang Chen also prepared 2 songs to sing. Moreover, these 2 songs were specially prepared by him for his current fiancée Ae Shui Yufei and must be sung. I have already sung 9 songs, and I have 2 more songs here. Do you want to continue listening? Faced with Yang Chen's inquiry, thousands of people around responded loudly. At this point, there were already patrols around to maintain order. Half an hour ago, the surrounding patrol officers had already noticed this place. According to the security regulations, Yang Chen's behavior was supposed to be driven away. However, there were too many listeners around, and as soon as they saw the patrol officers preparing to drive Yang Chen away, their eyes widened one by one, causing the patrol officers to be in a difficult situation. If it were in the 1960s and 1970s, the police in Xiangjiang naturally wouldn't have to be afraid of these ordinary citizens, but since the establishment of the Independent Commission Against Corruption until the early 1980s, the police have gradually become disciplined. The voice of citizens is particularly important. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. 3 Life Stones. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 3 Life Stones. Faced with complaints from ordinary citizens, once the police station holds the police accountable, ordinary police dare not continue to ignore their complaints. In addition, Yang Chen only sang here and did not block traffic. At most, there were more people gathered around him, and the surrounding patrol officers turned a blind eye to it, automatically maintaining public order. As I listened to a few songs, the atmosphere of the dozen or so police officers around me was also stirred up, especially a few female police officers who ignored the surprised looks of their colleagues and shouted in unison with the audience. There are 2 more songs below, which I specifically wrote for my girlfriend and fiancé Ae. That's right, it's my girlfriend and fiancé Ae. Ladies and gentlemen present, please don't have any thoughts about me. I've always only been selling myself and not selling myself. Oh, no, I'm only selling myself and not selling myself. Because my heart already has a place to belong, please don't keep thinking about me. Upon hearing these words, many female compatriots cut at Yang Chen, but of course, there were also many who were truly sad. Many people instinctively turned their hateful gaze towards the 2 women, He Chaoqiong and Shui Yufei, sitting in the front seat of the tricycle. There's no way, besides Yang Chen, the 2 women, a group of bodyguards, and patrol officers are the most prominent on the field. However, this hatred was alleviated by Yang Chen's funny words, which made the female compatriots less excited. The song I'm going to sing is called Only Feeling for You. Hurry up, Yang Chen said as he turned his head to look at Shui Yufei. He saw her still sitting on the tricycle dumbfounded, not knowing what cooperation was. He reluctantly waved to her. Seeing Yang Chen waving at her, Shui Yufei felt a bit at a loss. Unable to wait, Yang Chen walked directly to the front of the tricycle and picked her up. Seeing Yang Chen take Shui Yufei away with his own eyes, He Chaoqiong sitting on the tricycle suddenly felt a bit uncomfortable in her heart. To be honest, He Chaoqiong became jealous and didn't know why or when Yang Chen's figure first appeared in her mind. The inexplicable gaze and heart are like underwater needles just guessing that I have a loss of appetite. It's a bit annoying and charming. After singing a song, Yang Chen raised his hands and loudly asked everyone, do you think it sounds good? It sounds good. It doesn't sound good. At this moment, the voices of the male and female compatriots were immediately reflected. The man said it sounds good because they learned another song about picking up girls from Yang Chen, while the woman was dissatisfied with Yang Chen's undisguised, even blatant love. There's no way, what this song wants to express is too obvious, it's not even possible to cover it up. However, dissatisfaction does not hinder everyone's love for the song itself. This indirectly proves that music knows no borders, and similarly, it also knows no time. Especially the music that reflects the relationship between men and women, no matter how the times change, whether you live in wealth or poverty, first love is the purest, without any preservatives added, and it is also the most unforgettable and nostalgic for people. Faced with the commotion from the crowd, Yang Chen suppressed his hands to calm everyone down. He shrugged and spread out his hands, saying, "It's hard for me to do this. I have another song here that you all say doesn't sound good now. I'm too embarrassed to continue singing. How about we withdraw first? It's time for everyone to go home and eat." No, okay. As soon as Yang Chen heard that he was not ready to sing the next song, everyone became anxious and shouted together. Seeing everyone bowing in agreement, Yang Chen couldn't help but show a bad smile and shouted, "Then give you another chance. Does that sound good or not?" Okay, listen. After the commotion, everyone's hearts calmed down and they shouted in unison. There's no way, they're also afraid that they won't sound good again, so Yang Chen really won't sing anymore. After all, this is not a concert, and celebrities must be responsible to the fans who pay for tickets. Watching Yang Chen, whose every move in front of him was driving the atmosphere of the whole room, Shui Yufei seemed to have met her fiancé again, with a hint of fascination in her eyes. Similarly, Yang Chen's ability to create an atmosphere that can inspire fans, immerse them in his rhythm, and control the entire audience also surprised Shen and Wu in the CAFA. Although there were not many people on the field, only 1,000 or so, and all of them were young men and women, please don't forget that most of these people were gathered by Yang Chen with his own singing voice. After listening to a song, many people stop moving their steps and sing it one by one, making their original audience their fans. And Yang Chen's accompaniment, from beginning to end, only had one guitar, so he didn't add anything else, and just moved the audience with his own voice. In the eyes of Shen and Wu, being able to do this is already very impressive. Next, before singing this song, I would like to ask everyone present, have you ever heard of the three-live stone? Without waiting for everyone to answer, Yang Chen said to himself, "It doesn't matter whether you have heard of it or not. Here, I have a story about the three-live stone that I want to share with you. I don't know if everyone wants to hear it or not." Without waiting for everyone to answer again, Yang Chen waved his hand and said, "It's okay if you don't want to listen, because I still have to say it. Otherwise, what if you don't understand what I'm going to sing next?" Everyone had no choice but to perk up their ears and listen attentively to Yang Chen. I don't know if anyone has heard of the story of Sanxingshi. If anyone present had heard of Sanxingshi, they would probably know this passage. Sanxingshi, Sanxingshi Qiao bid farewell, Sanxingshi, Sanxingshi Shang, Sanxing Lu, Sanxingshi Shang Sanxing. The three lives originated from the Buddhist theory of causality and reincarnation, and later became a symbol of lifelong sentiment in Chinese history. The three lives of the three-live stone represent the past life, present life, and future life, respectively. Many people's love starts with a feeling of familiarity, and after falling in love, people will definitely look forward to fate determining the three lives. The story I'm going to tell next is about a hermit from the Tang dynasty and a Zen master from a temple. In the Tang dynasty, there was a wealthy young man named Li Yuan who, after his father's death in turmoil, realized the impermanence of life and swore not to be an official, marry, or eat meat for the rest of his life. He even donated his family to rebuild a temple and lived there to practice. The abbot of the temple, Master Yuanguan, was very skilled in managing the temple's property and understood music. Li Yuan gradually became good friends with him, often sitting together and chatting for a whole day, but no one knew what they were talking about. The story of Zen Master Yuanzi, Guan, and Li Yuan has been widely circulated. Today, outside the Tianzhu Temple in West Lake, Hangzhou, there is still a large stone left behind, which is said to be the place where they met in another life, called the Three Lives Stone. Yuanguan monk rewarded Li Yuan's friendship with his 3 lives. The high level of affection and the depth of righteousness cannot be measured, and it can be said that it is a matter of heaven and earth. The reason why this story continues to spread is precisely because it reflects people's beautiful wishes. The 3 Lives Stone, 3 Lives Lucky, is actually the 3 cycles of human reincarnation. Stone, metaphorically referred to as firmness, firm belief, that's all. Later, this wonderful story, which was originally called Friendship Between Men and Women, was transformed into a dead-end version of Love Between Men and Women by Dream of Red Mansions, because there is a red pearl grass on the bank of the western Lingyi River. Nourished by the essence of heaven and earth. Rain and dew. Cultivated into a female body. At this point, the 3 Lives Stone has become an iron symbol of marriage. The called 3 Lives Determined by Fate refers to the happy marriage relationship in the past, present, and future lives. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Leaving. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors.